Hello, this is Gabriel and Icon of the Charity Medical Foundation and International Trade Incorporated. Today, the presentation of my weekly summary of my agency will be Glometricology and the truth. Today, I will be putting more emphasis in the science that I call the eternal science, the power science, the science above all science and above all knowledge that you can possibly have. I will be starting a new concept that will lead into the correlation between evolutions, science, and religion that link everything to the truth. Certain people are going to say, well, what do you mean? Why you talk about evolution, science, and religion? Pretty much what we're missing is that there is a knowledge that is above our knowledge, and that knowledge combine all three. From the concept to the creation of the matter, through the evolution of the matter, there has been a process of evolution and science altogether to lead into the visualization of the matter. So, but that was initiated by a supreme being, the great architect of the universe. And without further ado, I would like to say Guten Tag, Guten Morgen, Bonjour, Bonsoir, good afternoon, good night, good evening for everyone around the world. You know, we have a movement of revolution that differentiate the time zones. So people are living in different time zones. So this is a very important thing that we all have to adhere on. If you can excuse me. All right, thank you. I have some important documentation that I need to derive the knowledge of today's presentation. Well, without wasting too much time, every single day, every single time that I do this presentation, I always try to make sure that I cover material that are more necessary for me to move on. All right, so bienvenido, bienvenue, welcome to my presentation, and let's know the truth. Let's know the beginning of all, the knowledge above all knowledge, and what connect us, what lead us or link us to the same purpose, our DNA, our spiritual DNA for the eternal purpose through the process of incarnation. Now, the thing is this, is that we lost contact with the power, the creator of the universe. We lost contact because the soul, our consciousness and our subconscious has been infected by the light of darkness and not the light of the truth. The light of darkness does not mean that you have to see darkness. It's not about that. It's about the way we think, the way we know things that are not good. You know, that separate us from God, the Creator. It brings us more distant from him because he's a holy God. and it started in the beginning during Adam. So that is the reason why we have to be very careful of using the golden rule of treating other people the way we want it to be treated. Okay, so I have made a suggestion. Like I was listening a song today, and the song was saying that lead my heart into you, lead my sorrow into me, for everyone that I love out there. And that's actually me recreating the song. And the song say, I lost all of you. And I say in my mind, who do I lost? I lost no one. I don't collaborate with people who are poor like me. So I better stay the way I am. As I know that I wanted to be wealthy in order for me to help the poor. You can be poor and help the poor if you want. When I call poor, I'm talking about less than $1 million a year. That's what I mean. Or less than 100,000 a year. You poor in my eyes. My point is, that's my assumption. But poor, what is poor? Poor is a state of mind. It's a state of mind. When I talk about poor, you can decide to be poor in state of mind, as you can decide to be rich in a state of mind. The difference between the rich and the poor is knowledge. There's nothing. It's not about it's not money, because the rich used to be poor before he became rich, but he was already rich. But he was poor in our state of mind because he didn't have the material. You see, material is part of the darkness that I've been talking about when you link yourself into that. But he was already rich because he had the knowledge. He just have to implement that knowledge and polish it and make it work. This is how God started the initiation. God started with the concept. What is the concept? Before the concept, there's nothing. The concept is an idea, an abstract idea of what you want to do. An abstract idea include the objective of your plan. It does include the method. You mean that what are the sample you're going to put in place? What are the measurement of the sample? What are the design, or how you're going to design your study, and also how you're going to analytical approach of your study. And then now, when you have that objective, you go back to the method that I just mentioned, the first step. And then the first step, you have the result and summary. And then when you have the result and summary, you have the conclusion. That's pretty much how it goes. So God started with a concept. Like I mentioned last time. And after the concept, he created the name. Just imagine, I'm going to do that example with our understanding. I have to reduce the volume. When we have our family, wife, we have a concept of generating, of making a family. When a baby is born, we give him a name. That's the first step. So God gave a name. It's called man. The power. People call him God. People call him by the name Elohim, Yahweh, which is his true name, like I mentioned. Because it is a reference. It is the source. It is the center. Everything go from there. So you give your name to your son or daughter. That's the first thing you do, everyone. And after the name, numbers. Numbers, because they're gonna ask, you're gonna say, this is my number 1 son, this is my number 2, this is my number 3. That will be the next one you're gonna say. So you count the number of people. So God created numbers, and those are spatial plane that you travel. In order you travel from the center where the power is, which is the heaven. You go to those steps where you have the names, the numbers, and after that he created time to see the progress of his concept. You have your son, he's the third, he's the first, he's the second, the fourth, whatever, or the daughter, first, second, third. Now, born 0 month old or 0 second. After that, 1 second old. After that, 2 second old, 1 minute old, 2 minute old, 1 hour old, 24-hour old. That's 1 day old, and open up. So God created the time, and after the time, God created what? Now I will see how my concept will go. I will observe my concept. I already create the time. Now I will create what? The space where my concept will be, where my idea will evolve. You have your baby, he's already 3 days old, he's in a hospital. Now you have to find a space in your house where he have to be. You have to make space. Everything that God does is what we do, but we just don't know. Everything starts with the concept. Now, after the space, what will evolve in space? The matter. What is the matter? The matter is a visible particle. It's an atoms. Who we are a collection of atoms. Who's gonna be in that space? Will be your son, will be your daughter, who is what? The composition of markers of DNAs, the assembly of DNAs, the assembly of proteins, of markers, of genes, of genomes, genotype, phenotype. It means when you come to that space where the space that you created, you see him. You look exactly like someone that you know, maybe as you or somebody that you know in your family, in your genes, in your generation. Remember, I define generation. Generation is the rationality of genes in time. That's where the word comes, generation. So we, the matter. God created the matter. The space is out there. There was nothing. Launch an atoms, a particle, to start the process. 15 billion years ago. 15 billions years ago that God started his project. He started with the space, the matter. He already have the matter. The matter, he put only one single matter in the space. A science that we don't have. That science is only in other dimension, the other world, the origin, the power, where the concept initiated. He put a matter in a space. The matter start evolving itself, regenerating itself, recreating itself in a form of an atoms. It means you have like the nucleus and you have the electron turning around the nucleus, orbiting around the nucleus with a specific force of light. It means electricity and magnetism. They start, there's an explosion, explosion dissipate a series of particles. Those particles start regenerating other particles, and those particles start regenerating other particles, and with the light force bringing all particles together, and those atoms start forming what is called asteroid, and asteroids start coming together to form what they call accumulation of asteroid, forming stars from dust. And the star is formed from only one matter called the ether. God put in space one matter who is who have the form of an atom called the ether, which is the combination of the 4 elements that compose the entire living world. Compose you, compose the earth and any other galactic cluster. Composed of earth, water, fire and air. We are all composed of it. But that composition is made out of what? Out of atoms. Markers, the proteins that compose the genes, well aligns nucleotide. Pretty much the genes are the similarity of nucleotide for specific region. The gene is actually what differentiates the race. That's how we're supposed to determine the genes. Differentiate people from other, group from other groups. Because the gene is not the entire sequence of nucleotide of an allele, of an allele. Of a strand of a DNA molecule, because an allele is a marker or nucleotide of a SNPs, pretty much of a gene, because the gene is a sequence of a collection of SNPs that compose that are composed of nucleotide, specific nucleotide that represent a specific group, a specific race. Now between those races you have a difference, because those nucleotides that are not similar from individual among the same group within that gene trend, there's a differentiation. There's a big differentiation, a bigger differentiation that occurs. And then you have that, and then you go from there. You have the formations within each marker of the genomes. We which are biallelic. It means two alleles, two nucleotide, because those nucleotides are called allele within the genes that compose the SNPs. And then you have a specific double nucleotide that represent the phenotype. I mean, this person is black because his phenotype is representation of a genotype that is a G or C. It means in that specific marker you're going to have a GG, or you're going to have a GC, or you're going to have a CC that represent that specific phenotype, which is the reflections of what we can see. But where do the cell come from? Where do the atom come from? Already Earth made, the space is made out of the ester, which is that matter that have the atomic form composed of the four principal elements that compose the entire universe. The entire universe, I can say, or the cosmos. Because remember, the universe is composed of everything, including the heaven, but the heaven have different material that we don't have in our cosmos. Pretty much the angels are made from different materials. That allowed them to transit from all dimensions. I mean, they can become human, and they can go from human to non-human, from natural to supernatural. They can travel from the concept to the name, and to the name, that's a step to travel. I tell you right now, the day you're going to die and then you want to go to heaven, you're going to go to all those steps. You're going to leave the matter. You're going to leave the matter where you are. The matter is the cosmos, Earth. You leave the matter, you go to the space. The space is where we only qualify a little bit out of our galaxy. Within our research. When you pass the space, that is another spatial dimension. When you pass the space, you're going to reach the time, another spatial dimension. In the time now, you can see the past and the future. But trust me, you can come back. You're just going to be like, whoa, if these people knew, I already did my time. So you move forward. So now, when you pass the time, you're going to reach another spatial dimension called the numbers. And after the numbers, you pass that spatial dimension, you're going to reach another spatial dimension called the names. And after that, you're going to reach the concept, which is the heaven, the power, the source. That's the same road they take when they come here. And there's gate and dimension. Not everybody can get no dimension. You stop in a certain dimension, that's it. If God didn't give permission for you, because He knows everything, pretty much. For some reason, He knows the command is giving. You can move from one dimension to another. You're gonna stick there. Like you don't have no permission to move forward. So that's how, when people say they travel to those dimensions, and they will tell you that it's a long travel. Yeah, it'll be a long travel. But before I go further, I would like to clarify something about me. I'm not judging anyone. I am not adjudicating anyone. I am just clarifying the situation in which I want people to fully, I'm trying to position to fully understand who I am and know. And today is the day I have to clarify that after I started what I call glometricology, because I already told you about the space creation from concept to matter, and I'll tell you now the evolution when the solar galaxy was formed and God decided to choose the solar galaxy because it was the one that have the proper element that he need and the proper planet. He chose that proper planet like he chose Adam's among many. He chose Earth like he chose Adam among many. He waited for the perfect planet to be formed, the perfect galaxy to be formed, to launch the next level of his concept. And I'll come to it. This is the knowledge that comes from the source because I have that gift. Now, let's start. I'm clarifying something here. I am clarifying about what many people have out there. And I want to make sure that today is the end of all adjudications, that today is the end of all prejudice, that today is the end of all defamation and sabotage. This is just a clarification. I'm not judging anyone, I'm just clarifying. There's no going back, there's no changing what happened. Move forward. I was born Christian, from a Christian family. Among many of my brother, sister, I was the second to graduate from high school 14 years ago. Despite the fact that all of us are intellectual beings today, but 14 years ago, I was the second one in my family to graduate from high school, and I was the first one to go to university. The first one who graduated from high school have different aspiration, and he went to university in Europe because that was his destiny. But in Cameroon, where I was born, I was the first one in my family to go to university there 14 years ago. There's no one in my family who went there 14 years ago. They did after I went there 14 years ago. Every country have his reality, and every country have his way to do business. Unless you live there, unless you know the reality there, you will never know. But let me say again, every country have his way to run their business, and every country have their own reality that are most of the time different from other country reality. All right. After during my second year, the destiny opened door for me to travel to the United States during my second year there. So it was a possibility for me to come in as an immigrant and continue my education. So the first step that I did was to request my transcript from there. And let me tell you, and I want you to really listen carefully, because I know it is a rumor that go around, but I wanted to make sure. None of my family members know about my academic thing, because they were not going with me in school when I was going there, because some of them was still in high school. I have the majority of my generations, they are working. Some of them are doctor, some of them are working on the doctorate, but most of them that I know were good. Most of them are already doctor, most of them are working on the doctorate. I have only one that can speak well about me, because we were pretty much working together academic wise, course wise. He was actually here, I believe he's working on his doctorate in mathematics. So when I came, I started working on how I can get my transcript to be translated so I can use it to move forward with my education. But at the time, I don't know if it has changed, because I'm not there anymore. The student was responsible. I'll say that again, you can verify this. The student was responsible to order his transcript. It means you have to go over there, if you're not, or send somebody over there to go in and to pay money in order for you to have faculty look into your file. You mean processing fees. Because at the time, they didn't have any digital data. Everything was paper. It means all the document was in a warehouse. It means some document got lost. I want you to understand this. Today, maybe things has changed. They start putting stuff digitally. In my time, everything was on paper. It means all the documents for thousands of students, even those who were studied there 20 years ago, it was in that warehouse. You mean when they go in to look for a file, they jump on other file. Sometimes they don't even find your file, so they have to recreate your file. And that's money that you have to pay. And that's the reality. They don't have big money like you guys have here. They have to work with the money that they have, with the resources that they have. And when they offer you one original transcript, that's the only one you receive. Maybe they changed it now because they didn't have the budget for the ink and the form of paper to purchase the form of paper to do the same thing. They're gonna be out of money. So when they offer you the original one, the second one will be a duplicate. If you already used the other one, or you lost it, and it's written in the original one that this is your only original copy. Those are the reality, and I want people to know that. It does not mean that the education is not well structured. It just means that they are working based on their resources. And that's the reason why I say every country, every place have their own reality. So I use it to move forward with my education. Some of those credentials got accepted to certain program here. Some of those didn't get accepted. Every program here in America, in any school in the world, they have their own academic tenure. Every program make their own prerequisites, their own course tenure, their own course correct, and they propose that to a committee that approve it, committee of that department or specific school. That's how it works. So you can come with a some credential, and one department can say those do not meet our standard, or do not meet the way we teach the corresponding course year. So we don't going to take this, or either you're going to have to take this course to meet our standard, or either at all we don't going to take it at all. So you have to take our course here. You're going to take the same credential and go to a different department or different school. They're going to say, oh yeah, we can take this here, this meet our standard. It does not mean that those credentials are false or are not good. You have to differentiate that. And that's exactly what happened because when I came in the Air Force, when I was enlisting in the Air Force refused to take my my college credential. For some reason, I don't know if that guy was mad that day, or his wife didn't kiss him in the morning when he was leaving. For some reason, I got my paper in front of me, Cincinnati State, and my credential from where I came from. He didn't want to take it. Both of them. Even Cincinnati State, he didn't want to take it. But because I wanted to serve, and there were many people behind me, I have to go through. So what was on my record was only high school. And that was the misunderstanding that was going on. Because even when I rectified it in the system, it was not changed. They didn't change it. So many of them, when they were looking the system, they thought I only have the high school level. So during my separation, that's what they thought. Even when I went to the academic of the Air Force, they always thought so, that I didn't have the knowledge, because maybe they talk about, So I end up as the first. I graduated from the Academy of the Air Force as a honor graduate with honor. They did everything possible to refuse to give me my award recognition. These are stuff that I'm keeping within. I never spoke about that, but I have to do that today because I want this to cease and stop. They refuse to give me my recognition with my honor graduate because there was too much surprise that the person that they underestimate came up in the top. Because I always heard them say, maybe this guy, he knows what he's doing. Like somebody told them that he know what I was doing. So, but I never really go back to that and say why you didn't give me. I moved forward. It was not too much important. So when I was at UC, try to challenge myself and say to them, hey, listen, I'm not a 18-year-old who just graduated. And pretty much our high school over there, the normal graduation is the age of 21, because we have more time in school than than the Western academic system. So our high school time is more longer than year. So we cover more material. Pretty much we cover some of material that university cover year in our high school system. You see, pretty much we cover about 1 to 2 years of the first 2 years of university in our high school curriculum. So I'm not, an 18-year-old who's here to, you know, try to be in a 4-year program or something. That's fine, but I can challenge myself. I already have an education. I want to go to the next step. I value myself. And like I say again, every program or every school have the right to accept any credential or reject any credential based on their standards. You can apply for one program and they can say these courses do not meet our standard, you have to take additional courses to meet our standard. Or they can say, oh, you don't going to take anything, you have to take those courses all over again. It happened. Many people who are listening to me know that what I'm saying is the truth. They are program here in America. You have a associate degree, you have the bachelor, you have college that offer the associate degree, college that offer bachelor, college that offer a combination of a bachelor or master, college that offer a combination of a master and PhD. So college that even offer a 5-year master. It means that from high school, if you meet some of the prerequisites, you can enter the program. It means prerequisites that are related to the program, you can enter to the program if you meet those prerequisites and do your 5 year to obtain your master directly. There's also professional doctorate. It means you have to meet a prerequisites of about 150 semester hour, which is equivalent to a master level curriculum, in order for you to enter the program for at least a 3 year. I mean, just the prerequisites, and then you go to the program. No transfer courses. You have to take the course by course, and you have at least 3 years to complete it if you go full time. Or either you can't prepare yourself, get into programs with a status of no degree a student, just to take the courses that will allow you to accumulate the prerequisites that will allow you to join the medical school. Then when you meet the prerequisites for the medical school, now you can go in there and do your 7 year to become a medical doctor. I mean, you get into programs, but you get into program as a non-degree seeker. That's what they call it, because you just want those courses. You take specific courses based on the prerequisites of the program you wanted to enter. It's the same thing with the professional doctorate. Professional doctorate, you have to meet the prerequisites course-wise of 100 and something, and then when you meet specific course prerequisites, and then you access, you can be admitted there. So in my case, sorry there, let me drink my pink toxin releaser fluid. I hope that you will do the work. not to damage my body, but just to cure it. The point is, now, when I was at UC, I took a lot of courses, undergrad courses, a lot of it, very challenging courses. So, like I specified before, I have all the credential ready to go. Get there, they say no, we can get you in because those courses we don't meet our standard. And I said to them, hey, listen, I want to get into your master program. I have the capability. Look my course work here in UC, and look what I have done over there. You can do this if you don't have no level. Say, oh no, well, you see, and I think they were right, because engineer, normally they like when you have an engineering, um, a heavy engineering credential in order for you to get into the engineering graduate program. If you come with a heavy science track, it will be difficult. So it's better for you to go to a science track program. That'll be more easy, because the engineering program, normally, that'll be, when I say that'll be more easy, I mean more compatible. That's the right word. More compatible, because engineering go for engineering, science go for science. Why science track is different than engineering track? Because science track, you can have your BS if you're if you're a very good student, 3.5 years. Sometimes if you're really good, 3 years. But in engineering, you don't have that. Engineering, it will be 5, because they have what they call the capstone that prepare you for, because engineering is about doing the work. It's about implementing the practicality of science and technology to form something, to create something. So it takes time, about 5 years, compared to science, where it's more abstract idea, project writing, research, that you can go and get resources, writing from many sources, and put a study together and make a presentation. And if you have a very good thesis and a subject that is compatible with what the community want to see, they give you an okay to go. That's pretty much the big difference. So I say, okay, you know what? I'm even a scientist. Let me go to a different program that's even more related to my background. And in that program, they look all the credential and say, well, we think that based on everything, we can give you a shot if you take some of the prerequisites. And they say, oh, you already take all those prerequisites graduate courses before you even apply. So I get accepted there for a master. And like I say again, every program have their criteria and standard they follow. You can come with credential. They can say, no, we can take those courses. We can accept these courses. You have to take it over, or you have to take another course to complete that to meet our standard. They have the right to do that. But it do not mean that your courses that you brought or your credential are false or not correct or something like that. It just means it doesn't meet the standard, because every program, every school have their own standard. And all my credential came from the university directly. There's no way I'm going to be here in 2009 and my credential came from overseas and people say I created a credential. How do I going to create a credential when I'm thousands and thousands of miles away from the place? And again, like I told you, I am responsible to get my credential, because how the system is, they don't have all the resources like we have here. Maybe now they do, but in my time they didn't. So it means you have to send the money to get someone who's gonna go and take care of that business. I'm not there how it's done. Like I told you again, paper, paper things are not digital. Things are paper. They try to put things in digitally now. I don't know how they do it, but they're working on it. Maybe I never check it. I don't work for the government, but I believe they do now. So many documentation can be missing at any moment. I can give you an example for the one that I have University of Douala before he got sent to West. They was not able to find it. But because though I still have some professor who knew me there, that's how I got vouched. And I put the money in order for them to go in there and look for those. And personally send the money so that it can be mailed. So you even have to pay the money for that to be mailed. Come from your own pocket. That is the system, that is the reality over there. There are legitimate hard academic schools, but they function based on their resources. If you go over there and that, most of your generation, they're all gone and they have new folks, it's even going to be more difficult for you to even gather all that information. And you spend more money because you have to pay people time, faculty, to go and look for something or do something or put a paper together if it's missing, if one is missing. Those are the reality there. So then for some reason there are people who start saying these guys stuff are false because he doesn't get admitted here or get admitted over there, got admitted over there. And the message went into my department, and they have to maintain the image of the department. And that was one of the blockages why after my MS I was not able to continue my PhD there. It's not that they let me go, but they simply say they don't have no spot. They don't have no spot. So I understood what they did and I left them alone. But what I'm saying here is not to go back or change anything. I'm just clarifying. That's the reason why I say I'm clarifying what people have in their mind there. I'm clarifying because there's no one who knows the reality of how things goes as I do. Every country have the way they run the business, and in order to understand it, you have to understand the way they run the business. You have to accept it because you cannot change your reality in one day or in even in years. It's just the way it is. What am I going to spend a $2,000 and something to purchase a ticket to go somewhere to spend another money there when I can actually have people go and do something? I'm not there. I'm looking for the result so I can move on my life. So I just want people to know. And there are certain people in that department of engineering who went into my department and start saying stuff because I got admitted. They didn't like it. They think they have a plan for me, and they didn't have no plan. No one have a plan for me other than myself. I am Gabriel and Icon. I am not my father. I am not my grandmother. I am nothing in my family other than Gabriel and Icon, who was born in March 7, 1979. I was born with my own gift, my own talent, my own suffering, and my own blessing. Identifying my uniqueness as Gabriel and Icon, born in that specific time and date. (12 noon). So you don't have a plan for me. God have plan for me. Who told you that I'm supposed to become an engineer or maybe a scientist? It was what is destined. I became what was destined for me to become. And I became that. With all the respect I have for you. This is a clarification moment. Because I have many people out there listening to stuff. They don't even know the truth. That's the reason why knowing about someone do not mean that you know the person. Do not mean that you know the truth. We know about many people out there. We even know about our presidents. They going up and down, this story up and down. But it does not mean that those stories are true, because you never talk to the person, you only listen. You only heard what was told. Do not mean that it's true. So that's what I'll clarify it. And what I told you is the truth. And I don't have that time to try to justify something. I don't have that time. So all the credential that I believe was not quite accepted, I put it aside because there was no need for me to use it. It's a waste of time. You move on. Credential that you believe they don't want to use, you put it aside. I put it aside. It does not mean that it's false or it's not good. What is more important about those credentials is what I learned from it. The knowledge. If they put me in front of an equation, I can solve it because I started a long time ago. That is the most important step, the most important part of all of this. So I put it aside because I have enough. I can promise you right now, all the credentials that I have are only including those that was likely to be accepted in all my experience that I have with everything that I just mentioned. I mean, programs, institution, the way they do, I put what are likely to be good. And you go to my resume, you find out exactly what I mean. So I said, I'm pressing on. I have the credential. I have studied. Why not go for a professional doctorate? I have the credential beside the master that I received. And only use the credential that you believe based on the statistic many institutions can accept. And also take courses that can be easily accepted in many, and most of the time they are very tough courses. Tough courses are very difficult to be rejected. If you take a course in statistical genetics, I don't care if you go to Harvard, they're going to accept it. Because that kind of course, not only you have to understand what the gene is, you have to use statistical method inferential statistic to analyze how the genotype or the phenotype impact people health, impact the way the interaction exists between the environment and the health of people. You have to study the sequence on what nucleotide, what genes, the amino acid, the combination of the three well arranged nucleotide sequence that are generated, that are made by the cell, called amino acid. Combination of three, the sequence, and the sickle cell gene. What differentiate that with the abnormal gene that create the disease, just because of the fabrication of a non-correct amino acid from one of the cells, in that sequence. So, and I did. And I am in that situation as a long distance learner. A professional doctorate with my 150 something 45 and all the credentials that they look. Those that are not correct, I put aside. I don't use it. When I say I don't correct, it means that I know that for sure. They don't go. They're gonna say, okay, it doesn't meet our standard. Put it aside. Move on with what I believe meet the standard. And you make the application to move forward. You look my CV, you find out. You're gonna read my CV on my website. You see exactly what I put in there. That's exactly what I use. You go to the long distance institution that I have today, that's what they have. And they specifically took some of the credentials and put aside. Don't worry to even send that one. We don't go, we already saw the courses. We don't gonna take it. These are what we want. This is what we want. It meet our standard. That's why you have to put your money to send to order. It's very simple. Do not mean that something is full or something not. It was a bad wind that was there. Bad people wouldn't want anything good out of me, and they reacted the way they reacted. Because they thought I was an 18-year-old who came out straight from high school. So this is not about judging anyone. This is clarification. And when I finish my professional doctorate, I will continue and finish my business with my PhD in biostatistics. If I'm alive, I'll finish my business, what I started. Because there's nothing other than defamation and discrimination based on the violations of laws. For certain people to leave their department and go into a different department to impose something is a violation of the law, exclusively when you don't have basis justification. Just because you didn't want a person, you don't know my destiny. This was my destiny. This was the way God wanted this to go. Anything in life happen for a reason. Everything in this life happen for a reason. There's nothing that happened here as a form of an error. There's no error. When two things meet together, they form an angle, and you can quantify that angle. I mean, you can give a precise, concise measurement. It's 43 degree, 42.5 degree. You don't have two things coming together, you say there's no angle. It means there's no such a thing like coincidence. Anything that happens have a purpose. Because if two things that do not know each other come together and form a perfect angle, it means they were meant to be together. It means it was meant to happen. So as our life, when things happen, it's for a reason. People just have to let go. Because we all have a different purpose. We all have a different, when I say different purpose in terms of our life, but we have the same purpose, is to glorify God's work. But when I mean by purpose, I mean destiny. People, somebody don't, you, when you cannot take any shortcut when you have 167 on the credit hour semester. Shortcut mean you have something less. The average to obtain a bachelor is around 122 if you follow a specific track. If you do 167 minus 122, you know exactly how much there's a difference. You mean I have above it. But I say to folks, because you have humiliated myself, I'll take my time to even complete that one that I put there, like a second one. I put it aside. But I'll take my time because I'm pressing on with my life. I don't have time for that now, at this moment. But when I have time, I'll look into it. It doesn't make sense. And I want to say something to you. There was never a problem with any school that I went, and even you see. I decided to move on, like many other people who went there and move on to the next life, to the next step of their life. They move on. They went on and press on with their life. They went on. So I did the same thing. I move on to my next life. What is next? But there's no problem at all. But I said I will not do what people want me to do other than what is destined for me. So I do what is destined for me. What I'm good at. What I'm good at. I can talk about gene, I can talk about science, I can talk about engineering, I can talk about many things. This is what I'm good at. I talk about the health of people. I'm a czar for health. That's exactly what happened. So it is really deplorable that I've been going through all of this, and people will think about me that are not correct. And the they're looking at the situation and they think because of the situation, so it might be correct. No, it's not. It's because people decided that they wanted to nail me down for a reason. But I understand it was the bad wind going around. And when that bad wind going around, and if you're not strong enough, you get you, and then you start reacting and start hitting people for no reason. I understand it. So it's not really a big deal. It's all fine. It's all good. I do believe that it is time for people to work together, for people to have a common purpose of good. Opportunity is not a phase of adjudication, but it is instead a phase of possibility. Possibility and capability. When a person is capable, when a person have possibility, give him the opportunity. Give him the opportunity. Because capability and possibility mean you put the person through the test, to prerequisites. If he meet those prerequisites, give him the opportunity and let him prove himself. We cannot lie ourselves in not well-founded adjudications, because we're missing the truth. I just told you how the reality are, and I can promise you I'm sleep there because I know I told you the truth. You're going to ask to anyone that told you what they say is right. So we have to move on. We have to be very careful when we adjudicate people, because sometimes I don't talk too much about my stuff. This is the first time I clarify things like this, because I didn't feel that I have to do this, but I heard a lot of things and I felt very bad because inside, because I know people don't know me. They only know about me. About mean you have many defamation and sabotage in the story. That's why I want to say this. So God, when the phase, the perfect galaxy got formed within the galactic cluster, he chose the solar galaxy and specifically selections the planet Earth, which is the third planet that orbit the sun. The third planet from the position, from the center. Third planet from the center. And from there was no life. There was only water and the sky. From the ecosystem, the trees, and he put a form like he did in the space. He put a form as a form of a cell that can replicate himself to infinity. That form is the one that evolved. Evolution do not mean that evolution is part. If you look the galaxy today, the galaxy, I can't call it evolution, I call it replication. It's replicating itself, because it's forming the same thing all over and all over again. It's just forming galaxy over galaxy. Even though that those galaxies differentiate themselves in terms of the number of planets. Galaxy over galaxy. That's exactly what it is, you know. So a form was put into water. That form was a cell. And that was the beginning. That form was put into water 15 billion years ago. The form start getting evolving and seeking for earth. Everything that is in water always depart, try to look for earth. Most of the thing that in water, even today. You cannot possibly think that during the time that dinosaurs exist, there was human being. God is not lazy. So that story is true. It was a process to reach the final products. The same way he waited for earth to be made and chose earth among many. He chose the solar galaxy among many other galaxies. The perfect galaxy was formed. The solar galaxy. And perfect planet was formed. He took it, he sculptured it, he remodeled it, he polished it for his purpose. Out of the perfect creation, out of what he started 15 billion years ago, around the year 3000 and something BC, Adam was born. From that process, called primitive. The primitive were those who didn't have the soul that connect them to the power to make them men with the big M. Because with the soul you have an awareness of your consciousness. You have the consciousness of your subconsciousness that trigger, that multiply your knowledge 10 times than in the primitive stage. So as the perfect galaxy was formed, the perfect earth planet was formed, the perfect man was born in that time. The products were found. Choose Adam. implanted the soul on him, became more wiser, start looking beyond what he see, when other people were looking only what they can see. He was different being from other because he have a soul. Soul within him differentiate him from other. So now, from him, perfect chromosome, final products. He retrieve the X chromosome, replicate the X chromosome to become a feminist chromosome. So he pretty much take one cell. That's what he did. One cell that have 46 chromosomes. He take the X chromosome of the male out of a cell, because one cell, the X cell of the man is composed of what? Is composed of the two DNA molecule. That's only the X chromosome. So he only need the X chromosome of a male. So because the X chromosome will have those DNA molecule, the two DNA molecule, and those DNA molecule have the strand. Those strand are the same, have the same. The first DNA molecule is the second DNA molecule will be the replica of the first DNA molecule. So pretty much to make a female, he only need that X chromosome, and even he only need pretty much the first strand of the first DNA molecule, and he need, that's all he need, only the first strand of the DNA molecule, the positive strand, because only with the positive strand you can make the second strand by compatibility, GC and AT, and then with that form you just replicate that DNA, that first DNA molecule, and form the second DNA molecule. And then when you have a complete chromosome X, that are replicate in 46 chromosomes of one cell, you cannot duplicate the same chromosome to form the second chromosome, because it's the same chromosome, is X. So you just replicate it again. That first chromosome that first chromosome, and you replicate a second chromosome, and you have XX chromosome pair. And he did 22 more like that, just the same. Because every organ is composed of those cells for the female, because there's no how Y. The Y come a little bit with different sequence of the nucleotide, but the S chromosome is just duplication of the second one. So he just replicated the same out of the final experimentation that started 15 billion years ago, and the female is made. I call it the eternal human project from God concept. Everything starts with science. But the only thing the evolutionists are missing is that they do not want to acknowledge that the form that was put into space to duplicate himself to form the galaxies and the cosmos the way we see it today was put in there by someone, by an entity. The form that was put into water was placed into water by someone. That's what they're missing. The world is composed of three-fourths. Three-fourths of the world is composed of water. Three-fourths of our body is composed of water. You believe that is a coincidence? A human body have 15 billion cells. God started his concept, his project 15 billion years ago. So on average you can give the formation of a perfect cell 1 billion years. God is time. Everything take time to end up good. Our body have 15 billion cells, and every cells have 23 pair of chromosomes. It means 46 chromosomes, and every chromosomes have 2 pair of DNA molecules, and every DNA molecules have 2 strands of a sequence of 2 billion, a sequence of 2 pair of strand, and each strand are charged positive and the other one is charged negative, and each strand is composed of 2 billion markers. It means 2 billion nucleotide. Do you imagine? It takes years, billions of years for God project to be made. That is the reason why we are important in his eyes, because it takes time to reach that final products. And why the Israelites are the chosen one? No, it's because Earth was chosen among many other galaxies. So Earth became very important. Earth became a problem in the power. So the Jews are really the generation behind Adam. He was born around 3000 and something BC. In the region of Turkey. His name was Adam. In the first language, it means men. A man, it means the big M. The person who have the soul put into himself. Primitive, who have a soul put into himself to reason well. The lady that was made out of him was called Eve. In the first language, it means life giver. That was the beginning of God's real process. That people have not seen. So when Lucifer saw it, everybody was stunned. So this was the plan 15 billion years ago to create the life giver. That is the reason why the flood was inevitable. The flood was part of the process. To clean the earth from impurity, primitive, and only with the right creation. It was something. But what was the reason? Thank you. What was the reason of the first scene that was made? It was the pursuit of the dark light instead of the light of the truth. The tree of life, was the tree that they're talking about in the Bible. That tree of life was the link between heaven and earth, only in a location where the Adam family were living. Not a little garden called Eden. But you can only climb in that tree of life to reach the light, the power, if you can put aside your darkness. Darkness do not mean the dark light. Darkness mean your thought, bad thinking. Darkness mean you are start questioning God. You will start questioning things that are good. God do not have anyone who gave him command. Why do you have to take command from him? God do not have anyone who told him to do something. Why do he have to tell you to do something? You can also become like God. You can also become like him because you have a brain. The point is, the nervous system of the human being during the plan that God put in place became complex, that it became very difficult for them to connect with the source, because they thought they were too much smart. And that's what we see today. That is the darkness. When darkness envelop one of the primitive, it means Satan into the body of that person. In the first language, it was called the serpent. Who actually wanted to charm the first creation. God created a woman specifically from the experimented male. So actually the woman was made specifically by God. And the name Eve means life giver. That was the process of starting, creating, the process of creating. Population on earth. So during the climbing, the serpent, that magician that was enveloped by the dark forces of Lucifer, start convincing the lady about God could not tell you what to do. God do not have someone to tell him what to do. God don't have a master. So you didn't have a master. You can even be like God. The point is this: that was the darkness. That's the tree of life. Going into light. You want to be close to God. You have to remove darkness. You have to think good. Your heart have to be pure. So that was starting having impurity into them. They have in them pure knowledge that when they see each other, they didn't know if they were naked, because they didn't have any bad thought. So in their way, moving up in the tree of life, try to reach the power. It was a long distance. The voice told them, God told them, put away your dark thinking. She said to the magician, to the serpent, they're telling us we can climb if we have darkness. He cannot give you order. He doesn't have anyone to give him order. Why are you going to take order from him? You can be like him. When you start having that in your mind, negativity, you are distancing yourself away from God. The tree of life. And because they have that darkness, she have that confusion, she was climbing the wrong tree without knowing. And when she reached the end, she was taken by the magician. She was taken by the serpent. And then purified. Adam was following because he loved his wife too much. So he was not thinking that, well, I'm going to the right place. And God asked him, Adam, why are you climbing the wrong tree? Oh, it's because I was following Eve. That is the origin of all. And in that end, they start looking at each other. They were naked. And God asked you, they say, God, we are naked. God asked him, how do you know? Who told you we were naked? Oh, the serpent told us so. So that's where the sin started on human being. If you look yourself, you don't find yourself into what I just said. It means you're not true for yourself. And that serpent, that magician, who used dark force, who used dark magic, he was enveloped by the force of Lucifer to do that work. And he was also attracted by Eve because she was different. She was not created like other beings. She was created by man, by God himself. So God have to tell them to leave the garden right away. So they were expelled from there. And they have a very, very difficult life after that. But after they repented, they understood that an error was made. Because God was talking to them, they were able to listen to the voice very, very closely. But when they start sinning, the voice was distant. Because you sin, God is holy. It doesn't go along with people who sin, who have darkness in their heart. The garden was turned upside down. The tree of life disappeared. Now I'm asking you a question. Do you believe that Jesus Christ died in a tree by coincidence? Jesus Christ died in a tree to bring back, to reclaim back what Adam and Eve lost in the beginning. Jesus is the tree of life of today into the eternity. He is the connection to the power. That's the reason why I take all this time to explain this. God made everything for people to be crucified as killer in a tree. People died for it. That was the way. That was the electric chair of the time. That was the lethal vaccination of the time. But God made everything to lead to it because there was a purpose. So when the right time came, He sent the first Adam of the heaven there. I mean the first creation of angel, Jesus. Send him there to reclaim what Jesus Christ have done, to reconnect men again, give men wisdom, cleanse their heart. Oh, the gospel that Jesus Christ brought up was the gospel to repeal, to rebuke darkness, and to bring up the light of truth. That's why he keeps saying the truth. The truth. He died in a tree, but he's not in a tree anymore. He's the connection. He's the tree of life. So anyone who connect to him, connect to the power through him. But when Adam and Eve, they were suffering, God sent an angel who came to teach them how to do agriculture, how to fish, teach them some technology, a reference, how to survive. And also how to travel from the matter to the concept, to the power. So they were able to meet the power once more. After they repent, I mean they change their way of seeing God. Where they have to go to suffering. So Jesus Christ came in place to reconnect humankind to God through the tree of life. He died on the tree. The tree was what was used to make the trust. Is that a coincidence? I told you, there's not such a thing like coincidence. Everything happened for a reason. That's why I say everything. Everything I say in my presentation always have a meaning. Every single word. We have to do good. I do believe in the word of God. I do believe in the gospel of Jesus Christ. And I do believe in the work of the Holy Spirit. When you say that, you connect all the forces that govern the entire universe. You see, God enveloped the entire universe. He's the center, like the sun is the center of our galaxy. He's the center of all galaxy. He's the center of all life. All the force that maintain those galaxies up, that force that he created, the origin of that force is in the concept, the power. That's why people who study the metaphysics, they don't call him God, they call him the power. Because that's actually the way we're supposed to call him, the power. Because when we start calling him like Elohim and El Yahweh, that's his name really, but people don't fear him. But we call him power. You understand what it is? Because the power is the power. And that's why came my equation of knowledge. I put the internal energy. Amen. Knowledge. The internal energy multiply the knowledge of a man from his primitive stage change him from his primitive stage to a man, a person with the intellectual being, a person who can look beyond and start creating. That's the internal energy. And I said, the internal energy is so powerful for God and for those angels, so that they have the absolute power. They have the absolute energy, and they have the maximum knowledge. That equation is true. That equation is true. So the God is there. I'm asking the folks, I am not a priest. I am a gifted person who understand the word beyond our word, the word above. I understand it. I am in a sort of person who have a mission to speak the truth. I'm not here to flatter anyone. I'm here to speak the truth. God created men out of an eternal project. And everything have a significance, and there's a similarity. There is a knowledge above our knowledge. And until we understand that, we're always going to be asking questions. There is a science above our science. What could have generated the cosmos cannot exist here. It should come from a different place. The origin of the cells are not here. The form that God put there in that water cannot be found. It only comes from the power. But it took billions of years to reach the final products. You believe there's a coincidence of 15 billion and 15 billion years and 15 billion cells that compose one human being? And just look, the same thing God did to create the cosmos and create primitive is the same way we create our families. Only with one chromosome per each partner. One chromosome, two cells, one chromosome over there, one chromosome over there. Only the first DNA molecule of one chromosome and the first DNA molecule of the other chromosome coming together to form one cells. And they do like that. for all cells and start regenerating itself, revolving itself, evolving itself, to transforming itself within, to end up forming 15 billion cells. It's the same process. It is in front of us. Why people are denying the truth? The same thing it did. There's no change. It did the same thing. Is showing us the same thing in our own eyes. Maybe just denying it. How come a simple thing from a simple cell can form 15 billion? It starts with only a simple cell. It is the same way he did for the cosmos. It's the same way he did for the water. It evolved for 15 billion years. But it only takes 9 months for the completion of the entire thing. And you have from one cell coming from 2 cells. One cell is formed of 46 chromosomes and start evolving within, changing forms, start changing forms, regenerating cells, creating different organs, connecting those organs together through those cells. Those are the formations of atoms, markers, billions, 4 billions of marker per chromosome, 8 billions of marker per cells. That's what it is. You have one cell's 46 chromosomes. And you have 8 billion marker per chromosome. And you can imagine, if you do 8 billion per 46, you'll find the number of marker per chromosome. You find the number. If you do by 46, you find the number of marker per cells. If you do now that number of marker per cell times 15 billion, you find the number of marker in the entire body. You derive the number of marker per entire body. You're going to derive the number of atoms, because each marker is represented by a specific proteins, and the proteins and atoms composed of a nucleus and electrons. That's the real power of God. The power. That's the name that is given for those who know Him, for those who are between evolution, who are combining evolution, because evolution is part of God's concept. Our body change form within to reach the final products. It's not because His knowledge is too superior to our knowledge that we think that our knowledge is right, our reasoning is right, because we reach our maximum. Our maximum is only the beginning of His knowledge. Not even the beginning. A small beginning of His knowledge 15 billion years back. So you can imagine what kind of knowledge He have. So you take your knowledge, small portion, maybe 1 divided by 15 billion year, to determine the correlation between your knowledge and God knowledge. So if your knowledge is in scale, you take my equation. If your knowledge is in scale, let's say scale 1 to 10, is your knowledge is probably, let's say you're intelligent, well, okay, maybe take 7. Divide 7 by 15 billion years. That is the correlation, the coefficient between that relate your knowledge and the knowledge of God. $15 billion divided by 15 billion years. That's how your knowledge is. That's how our knowledge is compared to the knowledge that you have. That's the truth, my friend. That's the reason why death is inevitable. There are certain people out there who are thinking how they can live forever, but they understand it's impossible because their knowledge is 15 billion years behind. It took 15 billion years for us to exist the way we're existing. So our knowledge is 15 billion years back compared to the knowledge of God. So without further ado, I want to close this up. I did exactly 2 hours and something, and I gave up a lot of information. I will repeat again. Salvation have 3 levels. Sanctification process, in which you accept God principles, standards, and law. Live within the gospel in which God, Jesus Christ, have put in place. Either religion you are. When you talk about God, you put all religion in place. You talk about the Holy Spirit, you put all religion in place. You follow the standard, principle, and law put in place by the Trinity. You live your life carrying that burden, that trust. Because the trust represents the initial tree of life. And Jesus Christ is the tree of life at this point that connect men to the power. But because of the Trinity, any other religion that use the cosmic intelligence well can also connect. But they're gonna go to Jesus through Jesus Christ and directly without knowing. Because the cosmic intelligence respond to Jesus Christ before any action is taken. Jesus Christ might not be present, or God might not be present, but the Holy Spirit is functioning because they are sent by God, by Jesus Christ, to do the work. But when they come, remember, when an angel, or remember when they appear to you, they're always gonna say, I was sent by the Most High. Pretty much they talk about the power. See, that's why they'll say to you, the Most High, the power, and they call him the power. We call him different name. That's his name that he gave to us, so we have to respect that. Elohim Yahweh. So After sanctification, you move into the process of redemption. You'll be reclaiming your point, because we are all born imperfect with our way of thinking. When you're born without someone telling you that somebody's naked, you know somebody's naked. The only thing, when you start getting to the consciousness, our way of thinking and purifying the mind. When a baby is born, they don't know that. But when they start living in our society, we start telling them stuff. That's why we start purifying the mind, the spirit, and they can start seeing the dark. They can start seeing the light. They can start differentiating both. That's not how God wanted that to go, but that's the reality. So, because of that imperfection, we can only hope to be redeemed after the sanctification process, to reclaim those points, to connect, and God will take the credit that Jesus Christ worked for, and add it into your account to make it full, pay in full. So when it's added into your account, now, because it was righteous, you become justified. That's the last step. Justification. You will be the process in which you are viewed righteous in the eyes of God. Therefore, you have completed this 3 stage of salvation. Then you can connect to the tree of life and start hearing the voice and start communicating well with the holy, with the holy God, with the power. No one lied to you. You cannot get close to the power. According to heaven, the concept is the beginning of all. Idea is the center of all light, and all force of light is the beginning of all knowledge. So, if someone tell you that you can get to salvation just because you believe in Jesus Christ, He died for your sin, you tell him, with all the respect I have for you, it's not all. I must change the way of my life. I must carry that cross and suffering. I must carry that burden to help change your own life. Let God walk to you, through you, transform you, and then you can be redeemed and be justified to reach the level of salvation. Everything else they're going to tell you will not help you. This is the truth. Because everyone can say it. I believe in Jesus Christ, He died for my sin, so I'm safe. Even Lucifer can say the same thing in front of you. There's nothing blocking him to say that. But the point is, or the question is, can he ask God to walk to him, through him? He will never gonna allow that. He's never gonna ask God, because he doesn't want to change. That's the argument, my friend. unless you have a transformation from the inner out. There's no process of salvation. Praying for the entire universe. I'm praying for peace. I'm praying for people to find inner peace through forgiveness. And I use this word: do to other people what you want to be done to yourself. And I heard somebody said, you give to people every single time, you're never going to have respect. It's not about that. Doing good not only bring you inner peace, but it is a principle that generates peace among people. If everybody does the same, if everybody does that, there will be less inequality around the world. There will be less disparity. There will even going to be less famine. There will be less war. There will be less differences among people. There will be less hatred among people. There will be less tension among people. There will be less jealousy among people. Pretty much the weight of the sin will be reduced in the entire earth. But people take that word, that phrase very slightly, and I'm very surprised. So peace be with everyone around the world. You have to believe in the word of God. You have to believe in the gospel of Jesus Christ. You have to believe in the work of the Holy Spirit, the divine intelligence, the cosmic intelligence. You believe in the word of God, it means everything He created, including all the religions. Believe in the work, in the word, the gospel of Jesus Christ. You believe in the Bible. You believe in all the work that He have done. You believe in the work of the Holy Spirit, the divine intelligence, the cosmic intelligence, the infinite intelligence. You understand that you have to accept those who use the Holy Spirit for good, either in Hinduism or either in Buddhism, if they do it for good. But after that, they will find the truth, because it is part of the Trinity. People don't realize that sentence, do to order what you want to be done into you, connect all religions. And it's not by coincidence. So thank you very much for listening to this presentation today, and I wish that something has been learned. This is just the beginning. I will scientifically explain those phenomena in future presentation when I am introducing the new science that will bring light into people, into humankind, connecting evolution to science, into religion, as the 3 steps that lead into the truth and the beginning of all. To define that God project and concept to create the cosmos and humankind included evolution, science, evolutions, all knowledge that you can possibly have to reach the final point. And religion was created to acknowledge the power and bring peace. Thank you very much, and peace be with you. May God bless every single person around the world. Auf Wiedersehen, goodbye, a bientôt, and I'll see you next time, if God bless. All right.